is this entire universe. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna introduces to Arjuna that offer your mind to me. And after saying that I pervade this world in my unmanifest form, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. After that, Bhagavan shows his vibhuti where I am hidden, and then Bhagavan shows his Vishwaroop, and then Bhagavan leads him to this knowledge by systematic vichar and vivek of Purusha and Prakriti. In the Upanishads, it's the opposite. First, the absolute is given. If that doesn't work, then from the absolute, the Vishwaroop is given. So it is the exact opposite, because the student over here in the Upanishad is done with the battle of the life. There is no more battle of the life. He is a mature student, and this student has intelligently, systematically dealt with life, which is we saw Pariksha Lokan, and the Chitta has no other place of abidance. So the Upanishad starts from the highest, and etasmat jayate prano manas sarvendriyani cha kham vayu jyotirapa prithvi vishvasya dharini. These are subtle concepts. From there, he comes a step down and he talked about Agni, Murda, Chakshushi, Chandra, Surya, Disha, Shrotre, Vag, Vivrutascha, Veda, Vayu, Prano, Hridayam, Vishwamasya, Padhyam, Prithvi, Yesha, Sarva, Bhutantaratma. That was yet for another student, the highest student of Vedanta, of Vedas, of this study. The first shloka itself, the first mantra, second mantra itself finished everything. Divyo hyamurta purusha sabahya bhyantara yajaha aprano yamana shubro yaksharat parataf paraha. So from there itself, that student, the mind and the intellect, the equipment understood Divya Yamurta and just went over there, and there was nothing else for that student. So quietly he excused himself from the class and just silently found a tree and is now lost in his meditation on this Akshar Purusha, this absolute being. But there are yet some people who are left behind. They are not yet gotten the tatparya of that mantra. So the further painting of the picture is done, and that is what we are seeing. Tasmat Agni Samidyo Yasya Suryaha Somat Parjanya Oshadaya Prithivyam. To meditate on that Divya, Amurta, Bahya, Bhyantara, Ajaha, Nitya, Shashvata, all these things, which is running parallel in the second chapter as well. A very mature equipment is required. This equipment has to be so purified, so quiet, so single-pointed. It cannot be derailed from its path. Just like a horse which is yoked to a chariot, blindfolds are put so that the horse cannot see anything on the sides, and in the front of it, it is just its head. So it's Drashti is just little areas in the side, that is all. At the best it can see the other horse next to it. And it is the reins which does the guiding. In the same way, it is the mind which is driven by the informed buddhi, the necessity of these senses to keep on this path, and to keep the senses and the mind on this path of the Absolute. The whole story from the Absolute is talked about. That is why this entire sadhana of creation is explained. To keep the mind focused so that it doesn't get derailed, the mind is kept on this path of vichar. What type of vichar? Not the samsara vichar which we are familiar with, the utpatti of the samsara as Paramatma. And that samsara, utpatti of this creation, is actually, when it is understood properly, it is not samsara. It is his vibhuti, it is his vishwaroop, and that is what these mantras over here indicate. So we saw that the jiva which arrives, the entire story of the jiva in a very cryptic language, it is said that it is not an accident you have arrived over here. This birth is very rare, and that one student who got up and left and the other ones who remain, the teacher want to impress upon them that you can also achieve it. Understand your bhagya, that this jiva has gone through so many agnis. Quote unquote, agni is a tapas. And the tapas, the heat of the fire, is the purification. But we have to understand it as a purification which has led me over here. So in case if I say that I don't have what it takes, well, to even arrive over here, so much purification we have gone through. So to make us humble, to make us appreciate, and not get bogged down in the negativity of the self-loathing, self-hatred. Over here, the divinity of the soul, the divinity of the jiva is talked about. The first fire is the heavenly fires represented by the Surya. The second fire is the Medha, the coming from the Soma to this clouds. The third fire is from the Megha coming to the earth, and the jivas which are there in the unmanifest form in the earth itself, and they make it into the aushadhi, and that aushadhi is eaten and it enters the man, and that is the next fourth fire talked about. And then the fifth fire is when it enters a yoni, a womb, the woman itself. So woman is the fifth fire. In these way, these are the 5 fires in which the jiva through tapas enters and then eventually arrives. This is for meditation, this is for vichar. And this vichar is, hopefully, it will make us appreciate our presence, our arrival, and this presence of the book in our hands. The very ability to even listen to such things and to be reminded of the journey of where I have gone through, that this vastness of this entire Bhagavan, here is this little travel of the jiva. We go from here to just Houston, 2.5-hour drive, and we get tired, we need a break and all those things. What to talk about the travel of the jiva? From where to where it comes, the stories it can tell, and each one of them a sense of maturation which depends upon its own unique bus that it has taken for its journey. Tasmad ruchas samaya chugam diksha.
Tasmad ruchas samaya diksha.
Yajñāscha sarve kratavo dakshināscha.
Yajñāscha sarve kratavo dakshināscha.
Samvatsarascha yajamanascha lokāha.
Samvatsarascha yajamanascha lokāha.
Somo yatra pravatet yatra suryaha.
Somo yatra pavate yatra suryaha.
So over here, now that the jiva has arrived, the jiva has even taken birth. The jiva has not just taken birth, the jiva has taken birth as a human being. And the story of the jiva as a human being is very beautifully captured, that what should the jiva be doing and how is this jiva to prepare themselves for Atmajnana. What is the preparation? That first student got up and left after the second mantra, Divyo, Yamurta, Purusha, Sabahya, Vyantara, all those things, he got it. And he did namaskar to the teacher, he got that, went, found a place and just meditating on that. But the others who are left behind, they have to reach over there. So how? So the teacher says, Tasmat, from that Purushar, that absolute self itself, Ruchaha Sama Yajugamshi Diksha. So from that absolute itself arrives the Vedas, and the distribution of the three Vedas. Atharvana Veda is not taken because it was a later addition. So earlier it was just Rig, Yaju and Sam, and this Rig, Yaju and Sam, they have a meaning, and that is what Shankaracharya ji over here explains. Tasmat Purushat Ruchaha Niyata Akshara Pad Avasana Gayatriadi Chanda Vishishta Mantraha. Each mantra which appears in the Vedas, the mantra has the mantra drashta, there is a chandas and a devata, and that devata revealed this mantra to a rishi, and that rishi was revealed this devata in words, and the words are put together in a particular form, and that form is called chandas. So over here, niyata akshara, which are measured. It is not a chandas just pulled out of the bag and whatever is there is there. No, these are all systematically placed syllables which have a proper tune and an intonation to it, such as the most basic Anushtup Chandas is there, Trishtup Chandas is there, Gajagati Chandas is there, Vasanta Tilaka, so many chandases are there. So, Niyata Akshara Padavasana Gayatri Adi Chanda Vishishta Mantra. So, these words put together in a particular form is called this Ruk. And that Ruk mantra can appear in other places as well. For example, this Purusha Suktam is there in all three Vedas. But in all three Vedas you will find the Purusha Suktam is in its own unique way. In Sam Veda, it is Samagana of Purusha Suktam is there. So in a very different way, we will see what that is. Sam, Panchabhaktikam, cha Saptabhaktikam, cha Sthobadi Gita Vishishtam. So the definition of Sam is given over here, that Panchabhaktikam, and there are 5 different ways in which the mantra is put together, 5 different essential ingredients which go into the actual content of the mantra. And over here Hrinkar is there, Prastava, Udgita, Pratihara and Nidana. These are different for example, Omkar and Hrinkar. You try to find the meaning of Om, Aim, Hrim, Shrim. There is no meaning for these. Are called Bijaksharas. So the Bijaksharas by themselves have their own meaning, yet when it is put together in something, you won't find the meaning. It won't add any meaning to it, but it adds great power to it. So, like a train which is going, the train is carrying all the goods. The engine is pulling all the other bogies. The engine is not carrying good. Engine is the one who is delivering all these things. So, some of these mantras, these aksharas, they actually carry the meaning forward. So this Humphat, all of these Hrinkar, Omkar, some of these Bijaksharas, that is all what is talked about over here. So Panchabhaktikam, there are different ways in which it is put together. And then there are 7, they add 2 more, and Upadrava Stobha, there are 2 different ways. Then it becomes Sapta Bhaktikam. Now all this is not there in Gurudev's commentary, this is all Shankaracharya ji. If you want to write, it's okay. If you don't, just listen to it. And then there are others, like over here it is said, Humphat Artha Shunya Varno ka naam Stobha hai. So they actually don't have any meaning, but at the same time, they have complete meaning in itself. So we cannot say that it is meaningless. It does have a lot of meaning. It was just a way of explaining in Shankar Bhashya. Shankaracharya ji has said it has no meaning, but that doesn't mean that we can omit it and chant without it. We cannot do that. It is part of it. And this is Sam Yajugamshi Aniyata Akshara Padavasana Vakya Rupani Evam Trividha Mantraha. And in Yaju, it is all prose order is there, and in that prose order, Aniyata Vakya. These mantras, they don't have any particular chandas or anything like that. They are just revelations in the prose order, and it goes on and on. So in this way, from the Purusha itself, as per the Purusha's inspiration, the most highly inspired moment, all these Rig mantras come out. And that same Purusha, when highly inspired guna, see each one of them, they represent various gunas in which Prakriti and Purusha, they throw out the words of creation, which is the story of creation. And then when he is in the mood of telling a story, the story form is the Aniyata Akshara. And in this way, the whole story of creation comes out. The other one is the song of creation. One is a story of creation. And the other one is the beauty of creation is captured in each one of these, very systematically delivered out of inspiration. All these things are. So this is what the three Vedas represent. That in essence, all three Vedas talk about the same, but they talk about the same in different avenues as per the inspired thought. And there are people who are trained to be inspired in thinking in a particular direction. For a person who's tuned to music, then the Samagan will speak to that person. For that person who is highly imaginative, for them this Aniyata Aksharani of Yaju, they will be able to compose. An English teacher will see some students are quite efficient in coming up with stories and writing. Some students are very good in poetry. Some students are good in neither one of them. They will do well in the science class. Analytical. So they will put all the things together in proper order. Lagu Guru, Lagu Guru, Lagu Guru, all of them will be there. Some prose will come out. Counting will be there. So in this way, different ways, the story of the creation comes out. And then Diksha. Diksha is the systematically leading into each one of these three. Without that Diksha, we cannot lead into it. Like a Samagan Brahmana Kutumba, if it is there, the father has to teach the son the Samagan. And it is not in one sitting. Multiple sittings at the age of 5, when Upanayanam, everything is done, they said, okay, now we have to pick up on tradition. And that is called Diksha. He's led into all these things. Maunchadi Lakshana. What is this Maunchadi Lakshana? Upanayanam. In olden days, the actual Upanayan thread itself was that munja grass. It really hurt if one had this Upanayanam thread made up of that and they lied down, it would prick. So the person was not allowed to sleep. So this Maunchadi Lakshana Kartru Niyama Visheshaha. So what is to be done, what is not to be done, all those things is pointed out as Diksha. That what is this Diksha? Living the life of Dharma. Dharma doesn't arrive. Dharma has to be cultivated. It has to be led to. So after the arrival, then there is this purification and the training and all those things. Yajñāscha sarve kratavo dakshināscha. Then the various yajñas, the person has to be led into the actual ritual. Now, how to behave, how to conduct one's own self. All those things over here, Yajnasya Sarva Agnihotradayah. This Agnihotradi we saw in last time that these karmas cannot be done without proper instructions, proper equipment, proper ingredient, proper direction, all those things. So that requires vigilance. That is what is talked about when the jiva arrives. The three Vedas becomes the source of dharma, which is Diksha. Diksha should not be based upon what my next door neighbor tells me. The Diksha should be based upon Rig, Yajus, Sam. And out of this Diksha, this purification, over here, Yajnascha, all the karmas should be based upon that. Kratava, Sayupa, Dakshinascha, all those things. There has to be some sacrifice, and that is to show us that Kratavaha, literally in olden days when this yajna was done, a post was placed, post, and an animal was tied to it. And after the yajna was done, people would go over there and sacrifice that animal. So the sacrificing post is what is addressed over here. So what does that mean? You please look over here. Let that animal do whatever it wants to do. Don't get... That is the single pointedness which is required. So the sacrificial post in those days represent, not even in those days, even right now, what is the sacrifice? Sacrificing is the jiva which has traveled, arrived over here. Now that this privilege of birth is there, I have to learn these Vedas, this Diksha has to be there. And after learning all this, now I have to learn how to properly conduct myself. After conducting myself, what is it for? What is the whole yajna for? I have to sacrifice something. What am I sacrificing? That animal represents the animalistic tendencies. It is the ahankar sacrifice, that give up this ego, give up this ego. So that was the understanding in the Vedic era, and they understood that. But then, without that understanding, just going to a Devi temple and killing an animal means nothing. You're destroying life, that's all. Real Bali is of the ahankar, removal of that. So, and then after doing that, dakshina, that it is a privilege for me to sacrifice my ego. Now that I have become a better person upon doing this, who led me to this? I have to pay them something for bringing me all the way over here. So the privilege of sacrificing the ahankar, I have to return the favor with whatever I can, and that is called dakshina. For the humbling of the ego, when that happens, when I become humble, I have to give some dakshina. Now there is a whole set of Vedas, whole section in the Vedas which deal with what is dakshina, what is proper gift that we give. And that is how Mundaka Upanishad starts. The gifts which were given were not proper. So gift has to be worthy of giving. It could be Pashu, because Pashu was considered to be the greatest wealth. So if we don't have that, Seva is the most simple one. If we don't have that, we can, whatever we have learned I can pass it on. For a sannyasi, the offering of the life at the feet of the teacher is the dakshina, because he goes over there with samitpani earned. So what kind of dakshina? So the student vows, what you have taught, I will continue. That I will not sever this Guru Shishya Parampara. That is the greatest dakshina. If somebody learns and then they don't do it, that lineage is broken. And when the lineage is broken, tradition is broken, knowledge is lost. Sringeri, because unbroken lineage. The greatest dakshina the student has given to the teacher. I will not run away. I have to carry the mantle of the whole matha. It is a lot of responsibilities. Otherwise, sannyasism, vairagi will just go anywhere. There are no injunctions. But to stay surrendered for the whole life and stay over there, dealing with all sorts of people and politics and everything, and yet remaining pristine in sadhana and teaching and all those things, a great, great dakshina. So, this dakshinascha, what can that 22-year-old boy who's been initiated give back to the teacher as dakshina? He's just walked away from family. But the whole matha rests upon him, and that is his dakshina. And that is his abhushan, the qualities of that. And for samvatsarascha, it will go on and go on and go on. That is samvatsarascha, seasons, all these seasons which add on, and life has to go on. So what am I going to do in all these seasons? I will always remain a yajaman for doing karma properly, and as per the attitude with which the karma is done, loka is what I will achieve. And the loka, lokyate, the loka, whatever is enjoyed is called loka. So over here on earth itself, that Atmajnani, he enjoys everything. All joys of all jivas of all time, all at once, in this one moment he will come to enjoy, if that jiva has done all these things. It's a bhagya of the jivan mukta if that person reaches that state with this proper way. Somo yatra pavate yatra surya. There where the Soma, the moon god. And what does the moon god? Yatra pavate. Pavate pavitram karoti. That student left behind serves, walks the tradition. Symbolically, the moon god purifies. It is, moon god purifies the mind. Mind gets purified through the whole thing. And yatra surya. And the surya tapati. What is the tapati of surya? The intellect shines brightly. The mind is purified of that student. Humble the person becomes, and the intelligence is dhyo yona prachodaya. The glory of such a jiva that arrives and has the bhagya of living life in the way Upanishads talk about. This is not just, and this is what actually this little boy Nachiketa tells his father. Oh father, what are you doing? The plants, the birds, all these grains, they also come over here, they grow, they pollinate, they create seed, and they go. You come over here, you've created me and you will go away. What kind of life you're living? 9-year-old boy tells his father and he goes to Yama. Because he has understood this. And such a student is the adhikari of that Upanishad. He understood that this is worth living. These 3 Vedas in 3 different channels. The Diksha has to be there. And as per that, Yajnascha sarve, all karmas have to flow properly. Kratavaha, sacrifice. Without sacrifice, we cannot do our action. The sacrifice has to be proper. What is that? It is that ahankar. And then, dakshina. I have to live accordingly to what I have learned. Otherwise, I bring no glory to the 3 Vedas. And the teacher, for how long? Samvatsaras yajamanascha loka. And as the understanding and as they have lived, all this will be there, enjoyment. And the fruit is given. Yatra somo yatra pavate yatra suryaha. Won't understand it. The translation, that's why we have to study it properly. Where the mind becomes purified and the intellect shines brilliantly, such a student is worthy of a Vedic student. Tasmat deva bahuda samprasutaha.
Tasmat cha deva bahuda samprasutaha.
Sadhya manushya pashavo vayamsi.
Sadhya manushya pashavo vayamsi.
Pranapano vrihiyavo tapascha.
Pranapano vrihiyavo tapascha.
Shraddha satyam brahmacharyam vidishcha.
Shraddha satyam brahmacharyam vidishcha.
So this is how last mantra, this mantra, it shows the detail how the subtle becomes the gross, but in the same way that gross also has to go back to subtle, and it can only go back to subtle provided this is followed. So, oh student, you have arrived over here, you are not an ordinary being, you've come from there, and from there the Vedas and all these things have come out. So the way it has come out, you have to go back up the same way. That was what was mentioned in the last mantra. Now, tasmat cha devaha, from him, devaha, all these gods. Our Shastra says there are 84 lakh devatas, There are devatas everywhere. So the uniqueness of each thing in the universe, there is a devata which brings the uniqueness of each one of them. The reason why hydrogen is placed where it is placed in the periodic table of elements, it has an atomic weight, it has certain number of electrons, whatnot. There's a devata which makes hydrogen hydrogen. It has a dharma and it does not deviate from dharma. If it deviates from its dharma, it will become helium. If helium deviates, it will become sodium. Each one of them are there because there is a dharma that resides. Without the dharma, we cannot study the universe. The universe has an inbuilt dharma in it. What is that universal dharma? Devata. Everything is as though working with some inbuilt intelligence. Chemistry can be studied as chemistry because there is a chemistry god. Physics is studied as physics because there is a physics god. All these formulas we see, PV equals MRT, all those things, PV equals NRT, F equals NA, all these things, what are these? These are universal mantras. How did it just appear like that? Newton did not create F equals MA. He had a unique intelligence to see the God presiding over matter, force, weight, and he made a connection that there is a way in which matter behaves. So, all these things, the universe operates because that Akshara Purusha created various devatas that go over there and preside over the universe, and the universe then becomes his Vishwaroop. Hand has to behave like a hand. If hand starts behaving like foot, it doesn't work. So there's a devata. And the devata that presides over hand is Indra. There's a devata which presides over feet, Vishnu. There's a devata that presides over eyes, Surya Bhagavan. Devata which presides over mind, Chandra Bhagavan. Devata which presides over hearing is Digdevata, Gran, Ashwini Kumara, so on and so forth. It goes on. In fact, the Antyeshti karma, when the whole body is placed on the funeral pyre, and first Karpura is placed in Nabhi, because we start our life from Nabhi, so the fire is placed over there first. It's a very beautiful samskara if we understand. The body has to be consumed by the same universe that created it. So the next to kin, that son, is doing the Antyeshti karma of the mother. Mother is lying. He came from that same mother, from the Nabhi. On the Nabhi he puts a big ball of Karpura, and first it is invoked over there. The consumption of his mother's body starts from there. And then systematically Karpura is placed in various parts of the body, and from there it is taken to the shoulder, to the head, to the crown, to the two toes, to the knees. There is an order in which where you place. And then all mantras are done. We are bidding farewell to all the devatas. That's what they are doing. That, oh ye gods, you came and you made my mother alive. Today I bid farewell to you. You please go and serve another child that is taking birth. What a high thought. Even in the death ceremony, if we understand, we bid farewell to mother and we go away from the smashan thinking, what is the universe? What divinity exists over here? Because we've systematically bid farewell to all the devatas. We take this body for granted and we do various things. How many devatas are required to keep the whole assemblage of this equipment alive? Vedanta comes and says, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect. When I say I'm not the body, there are 84 lakh devatas that are putting over here. And if we have insulted them and said I'm not the body, how can that body give you support when you are meditating? We need even the blessings of these devata to go from here to here. They have to release us. We will eternally be shifting, we'll never be able to meditate because every devata is insulted over here. To go from here to here, not easy. We need blessings. 84 lakh devatas. So, Sharira Khalu Dharma Matra Sadhana. If it is used for that, the Devatas are pleased, the senses are not abused, all those things, then there will be Shanti of the equipment. And that equipment will allow us to go, okay, I will behave, go into a subtle realm. Now the mind has to behave. Okay, I can keep the body still. Can I keep the mind still? Our mind roams around in the whole world of thoughts. That Devata has to be pleased. Proper thoughts, proper directions. This is the, implied meaning over here. We have to get all these things. It is not said in Upanishads like this. That's why it has to be studied properly with a teacher who can give this insight. This is called Upasana. The student has to, and that inspiration in living comes from it. Tasmacha, Devata. I'm saying I'm not the body, I'm that. But then who created the universe? Who created this body? Well, He did. How did He create? Systematically. Today, medical school can at best study what is created. But which medical school can take the credit of creating a body? They start their journey from a dead body. Each medical student starts their career with a dead body. They study that. Bhagavan's creation, when it goes, they are trying to go to the cause. So from death, asatoma sadgamaya. It is even there we can see that when that sattvastu leaves, and it is just a case. They start from that empty case. The idea is not to treat the empty case, the idea is to treat the one which is fully functional. But what arrives in the hospital is what arrives. They have not created it. This glory of the universal spirit, Bahuda Sampratsutascha, in various ways the whole universe exists. The botanist, when he goes to Amazon, has a field day. The one who has allergy will never be able to live in Amazon, because everything is everywhere. But for that person, he will look at that tree, he will look at this tree, he will look at the creeper, some flower, some seed, and Bahuda Samprasuta. Just the kingdom of botany, the kingdom of amphibian. I was mentioning a month ago, one frog went extinct, the last living frog died. Like that, every day, how many of us know how many species are going extinct? In 2008, another species was discovered in Papua New Guinea. We don't even know what variety exists. Where does it come from? So when we go to a jungle, when we go to a mountain, if we see the jungle nest, so where did it come from? What is it? Bahuda Sampratuscha. Sadhya Manushya Pashavo Vayamsi. So the first line, the whole universe comes out from him. Various devatas make sure that everything exists in the uniqueness of Bahuda in various ways. And in general, the varieties categorized in three. What are the three categorization? Sadhya, Manushya and Pashava and Vayamsi. Sadhya, the Siddha Purushas, the heavenly world bodies, the denizens of the higher worlds. Manushyaha, the denizens of this world. And Pashava Vayamsi, the lower creation. So these 84 lakh gods, they serve these three different types of bodies. That is what is indicated. How do they do? Pran, Apan. By utilizing the devatas of Vayu, the Tanke tambure mein to sanso ke tar bole jai Siya Ram. Chalota sings this bhajan, that in this entire body of Veena, the strings of pranas are continuously beating, but every beating is his name which keeps the whole body beating. The one who knows, the one who doesn't takes the whole pranas for granted. So pran, apan, vrihyavoscha, and the energy of the pranic sharir is from the sthul, from the gross food, and that is over here annam is talked about, that various grains, they become the sustenance of the pranas. So over here Gurudev for that says pranapan vrihyavo, corn and barley is what he says. In Sanskrit it literally means grains. The grain family is referred to as that. And what is all this for? Tapas. Tapas, the whole life is a tapas. Everything is a tapas. Birth is a tapas, death is a tapas, and anything between birth and death is tapas. The whole journey of life. Everything requires effort. Everything requires attention. Everything requires this presence of living. And that concentrated thought, austerity over here, Gurudev says, that has to be approached with Shraddha. If tapas is not approached with faith, it cannot be tapas. And the definition that Shankaracharya ji gives of Shraddha is a beautiful one. Shraddha yat purvaka sarva purushartha sadhana prayogascha tat prasad. All of those, all effort that was put in living life as per what was talked about in the previous shloka, you have to just accept it. The acceptance of that entire life which was discussed, the three Vedas, from that diksha, from that proper karma, from that sacrifice, from that dakshina, from that samvatsaras, all those things, how does it happen? I have to have faith. Faith in what? Shastra. And faith in what? Diksha. Who gave Diksha? Guru. So, faith in Shastra and faith in the one who gives Diksha. Vision of life. That is the Purva Ukta. He has not explicitly said over here, but in what is talked about is minimum faith. Shastreshu, Guruvakyeshu, Satya Buddhi, Prayogascha, Tat Prasada. And when you put that into practice, the fruit of Shraddha is over here, Tat Prasad. Prasad Buddhi. The mind becomes light. worry-free. And that is the prasad of Shraddha. I know that I am feeling good. And the reason why I am feeling good is I have lived life properly. The reason I have lived life properly because I listened to the teacher. And the teacher didn't cook up some story and told me some rumbo jumbo, some cock and bull story. The teacher had valid ways of leading me, and the teacher didn't use his buddhi, the teacher used Shastra. Such is Shraddha. That Shraddha, Satyam, then that person cannot but come to ascertain the truth in living. Anruta Varjitam, all types of mithyachar is given up. Life becomes a life of truth. Somebody asked Gandhiji, what message do you want to give to the world? My life is my message. That is Satyam. When one has lived, you don't have to write an autobiography. This is my message. This is what I have learned. No. Life is the message. You live the life of ahimsa. Very simple for you. The whole story unfolded from there. Brahmacharyam, a life of discipline. Shankaracharya ji goes directly over here to Maithuna Samacharaha, that Maithuna Asamacharaha, the person who does not engage in the carnal pleasures, the one who lives a life of perfect control, that person alone can rise up higher. And Vidishcha, Brahmacharya has to be lived according to, I give up the lower, but then what do? I use Vidhi. What is Vidhi? Vidhi Nishedh, Shastra. Again it goes back to proper injunction. So in this way, see, these are just fat, you can go through these mantras, but they are loaded with deep esoteric meaning we can cull out from this. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.